welcome to a special edition of the 716 Sports Entertainment Podcast. It is me, Sean, with Mr. T. Reese coming to you today, bringing a special looking back at a wrestling promotion and show that used to be in Lucha Underground. I know both T and I are big fans of the show, and we're going to go take a look at the roster and see where a lot of the stars who are active in the current big promotions are and what's going on with them. I know I personally loved Lucha Underground. It was definitely something original for its time, treating it more as an actual TV show than a sports show. It was like a drama with wrestling on it. And I don't know, what are your thoughts on it, T, before we get started?
Well, it was, it kind of, you could put them up there where ECW was. It just changed how wrestling was being promoted. It was a different take on wrestling. And just like you said, it was more of a soap opera, more soap opera-ish than, but the thing was that the wrestling was so good. I don't think I've ever seen a bad match at Lucha Underground.
Outside of that final season, I would probably agree with you.
Yeah.
But you're right, the cinematic portion of it, like it was doing cinematic matches and cinematic things before WWE ever considered doing such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it did it real well for the fact that it was on, I believe, El Rey Network to start.
Yep.
And so they didn't have a ton of money, but they put their work in and they had a real good production value. Their underground arena was awesome. Like the setup for it and the way it was used for some of those matches was absolutely incredible.
But it was more of it was an intimate setting because the fans were right there next to the ring. There was like, I think there was even barriers. I don't remember them even using barriers, right? Did they use barriers?
No, they didn't, because it was like bleachers and stuff into the crowd. The amount of matches that used to end up going into the crowd was ridiculous.
All the time. I mean, they would do suplexes right onto the hard floor. I mean, there was no cushion anywhere. I mean, not to say that you need to do that, but I mean, their production was, for a show that didn't have a lot of money, their production was actually better than most of the other top wrestling shows.
Oh, for sure. Like you could tell that they were putting the time and the money into the production for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they would introduce people and like the vignettes for introducing people and all that were incredible.
Yeah. And even they used the cinematic type, show to almost do like that's where the soap opera came from. So it was like you're watching a movie, then they throw the matches in there. They did a great job. I had fun watching them until that fourth season, but I don't know if we want to go into that now. The reason why that show ended, I'm pretty sure if all you people are watching, if you were a fan of it, you know why it ended.
Go ahead. Tell us.
Well, they had a problem with the wrestlers and their contracts. So the contracts that they had set up for them was, and it was the most insane thing, was because they did it by seasons. WWE does seasons, but it's not really a season. I mean, they're just marketed seasons for TV, but they really had seasons for the show. So what happened was, in their contracts, anyone that wrestled under contract with them could not wrestle with any other promotions during the off season. So a lot of people they were like, "No, we're done." Walk falling off. They were getting in disputes with the company. So in that fourth season, if you notice, they had a whole bunch of different people coming in, and they were just trying to fill out the roster because they were losing people. On top of that, you figure it's on El Rey, so they didn't have a big network contract with anybody. So they fell apart on their own with that weird contract. I don't understand why they were doing that. It didn't make any sense, and they were losing wrestlers because of it. So the only time you can wrestle with another organization is while the season's running, which is the most bizarre thing. It didn't make any sense. So these guys couldn't make any money in the off season.
Yeah,
they would go literally 6, 7, 8 months, with no work.
Yeah, because it ran on basically the schedule of a normal TV show.
Yep.
Like it had its mid-season break. It had all the hallmarks of a network TV show.
Yep.
And you're right, that last season, season 4, that's why you saw an influx of all the young, lesser known stars at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Your your White Rabbits, your Sammy Guevara's, all
Yeah.
those people who we're going to talk about here shortly. But it explains why you had to replace all these established luchadors, people who had been there for 3 seasons, who
Mhm.
told fantastic stories.
Well, I mean, and the writing was good. I mean, they made it into it was almost like watching a movie. Most every season was a movie.
Oh yeah,
And I mean, for you people that didn't watch it, the whole premise of the show was how they changed the championship. Number one, they had the best. I'm gonna be right now. I'm gonna say it now. They had the best belt still to this day ever created for wrestling. Their belt, their championship belt was. I mean, it was hot. It was hot.
and
And
then they had
WWE's kind of copying it a little bit with putting it into the separate chambers on the side. But Lucha Underground's belt was like the best belt in wrestling. Just the aesthetics of it was. But pretty much what happened was that there was no. They would have the first season started with no champion, and so at the end of the season they will award a champion
yep.
through rankings and things like that. Um, and once you won the championship, like the first season, it was what was his name, Muertes.
Bill Muertes, yep,
He won the belt. So when season two came out, they changed. You had to literally, he had to fight. He was still the champion, but he had to fight through the tournament again to get to that final episode to fight for the belt again. I believe the first season, he fought Puma, which is,
yep.
in other words, uh,
Ricochet.
Ricochet. So the next season, I think Puma won it. I think Ricochet won it the next season too. At the end of it, I believe he won the
Yes,
belt.
because halfway through it was Phoenix, I believe, that won it.
Right. So what they did was, so they basically just kind of made it where you had to watch the entire season to find out who the champion would be at the end. So it wasn't the champion week to week to week, whether the champion won or lost. It was at the by the end of the season if they were in the title. And then on top of that, um, what's his name? The producer.
Dario Cueto.
Yeah. On top of that, he was like a mastermind behind it, and he would award. He the first season he said, "I'm going to give you, I think it was like $250,000 in the championship belt, and whoever wins it gets it all, and all this other
Yep,
stuff." And he pulled the swerve on Puma. Remember at the end, and he ended up giving it to Muertes, and that was a
yep.
good storyline. But yeah, so it was very unique, innovative, and I think that's why it became so popular.
They also had that really cool like Path of the Gods or whatever
Yeah.
championship it was that they had, where you
Hmm.
had to win the 7 medallions, and
Yeah.
in order to get inserted into that championship match, you had
Yeah.
to present the medallion.
Yes.
Um, was a pretty cool idea for a tournament the way they did that. And that was a rotating thing every season. They also had some real fun matches. Like I looked it up. Do you remember Prince Puma versus Johnny Mundo in the All Night Long match?
Oh, that was a good match.
The entire episode was just them.
It was like an hour.
Yep, it was their entire episode.
Yep.
Or do you remember basically what was the equivalent of a casket match between Matanza and Mil Muertes?
Yes. Yes.
Their
Yes.
Undertaker and their Kane.
Yes. Basically, what it was. They both looked like each other in the ring, which was weird.
Yeah, one just wore the jumpsuit. The other one looked
Mhm.
like a normal luchador.
Yep.
What other fun ones were here? Oh, they also had the really cool trios match, the trios belt. It was one of the first times you saw a trios belt.
Well, that's what I wanted to bring up is because the trios belt was originally founded by Lucha Underground, and AEW kind of stole it from them, which was kind of lame. But hey, it's what it is. And I don't understand because there's people on the internet like yelling that WWE should bring a trios belt out or put one on NXT or something like that. I don't think so. I mean, I think, well, okay, now I'm arguing myself out of it.
There's
Maybe,
too many belts already.
well, the thing is with WWE, if you did a trios belt, and I'm just speaking, just being devil's advocate here. If you're going to do a trios belt, you could actually push 6 wrestlers into a match and get them TV time.
Yeah,
They already have a problem with it oversaturated. I mean, there's too many wrestlers on their roster now. If they really wanted to get some of that talent on TV a little more often, they could do that. Set aside some time for those trios matches, and you can get 6 wrestlers on your roster that doesn't get that they're hardly getting the airtime, and do something with them. Get rid of that
yep,
speed thing and all that other crap. Do a trios match. Do trios.
yeah. I mean, that would be pretty fun. And I mean, you have enough. If you have factions, you could do it.
Yep.
And that honestly though, that was the other thing that Lucha Underground used to do a lot of too was intergender wrestling.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like you
Women
would
also were included to wrestle men for the belt too. Because was it Sexy
Sexy
Star?
Star was one
Sexy
of the
Star
first
won it.
women to win a title.
Yeah, she won the title. She's the only one. I mean, it was like unheard of to ever see something like that. They were the first company to do something like that.
I mean, she didn't
Um,
hold it long, but
no, no, no. She didn't hold it long, but she was a woman who wrestled men, and she won a championship because of it.
yep. I think Evilise used to throw down a lot with the men too. She was a
Yeah,
badass.
yeah. I mean, the women used to interact with them. They would get involved in matches, more so than what you see currently today in a lot of wrestling. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was innovative. Nobody ever expected them. They put a belt on a woman when there's tons of men in the division. It was cool.
So there's two other matches I just wanted to mention to you real quick before we went into the roster. Do you remember the Falls Count Anywhere match from the first Ultima Lucha between the Mac and Brian Cage? When Brian Cage put the Mac's head through the cinder block
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
and how
Brian Cage.
absolutely vicious that was?
Well, that was Brian Cage in his prime.
Yeah,
I mean, for a guy with his size, it was kind of crazy because, I mean, with those lucha wrestlers, he actually looked good in the ring with them. He didn't look like he was out of place. Like today, you can kind of see he's out of place right about now because there's a lot of young, speedy guys. He's of age now. So I think, how old is he now? Because he's
let's
older now. Where is
let's
he?
see.
Where are you at, Brian? Oh, here you go. Yeah, he's 41 right now.
Oh yeah, so then he's definitely getting up there.
Yeah, so he's 41 now. So he doesn't like at AEW. I've seen him a few times. Whenever he decides to wrestle there, he's at Ring of Honor too, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
he does Ring of Honor and AEW.
yeah, he just he did what you see him do today is much less than what he used to do. I mean, he used to do like some lucha moves in the ring, and for a guy his size, it was incredible that he was able to pull it off. He doesn't do it as much, I don't believe.
We'll talk about him when we go through the roster here because he's one of the big names that's still active. The other match I wanted to mention was your boy. I believe it was also at the first Ultima Lucha in Pentagon Junior versus Vampiro in
Oh,
in the Cerro Miedo match.
yes, yes, yes. Your boy Vampiro, one time match. He came out of semi-retirement to do the match. Um, and shout out to Vampiro. I mean,
Oh God, that was a vicious, brutal match.
uh, dude. And Vampiro, obviously, I think at the time he was kind of out of his prime anyway. But just to have him back in there and to see him in the ring was pretty cool.
And the light bulbs in the match and like that was prime Pentagon too. Like part of me is well, we'll talk about it when we get to Pentagon here, but that was Pentagon Unleashed, and
No,
I would love to see that again.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, this is what the Lucha Underground for you guys have noticed that I do the little Cero Mero all the time because he's one of my favorite wrestlers, if not my favorite wrestler right now. If you get a chance, you can watch back. I can't remember where you can watch them at, but you can watch back uh the seasons. And
Just
if you look,
Google it.
yeah, just Google it if you get an opportunity. Um, he was Penta Dark there, and I mean, the makeup, the look, he was vicious. He was a heel over there. He was breaking
Just breaking
arms,
arm.
doing all kinds of craziness in the ring. I mean, that's how I became a fan of him because of that. So if you ever get a chance, if you haven't been familiar with his work, I'd recommend going back to watching Lucha Underground to really see, you know, Penta being Penta.
The first two seasons are worth watching for Penta.
Mhm.
When they finally put him into like the title program
Yeah.
was was absolutely awesome to watch.
Mhm.
Um, because they didn't, even though him and Phoenix are brothers, they never really crossed paths a whole lot. I mean,
Mhm.
they did do some tag team work together, but they both had a lot of their own storylines going on. Phoenix
Mhm.
was frequently running up against Mil Muertes as like the good versus the evil,
Yep.
until they had Dark Phoenix, but no pun intended there as far as X-Men fans go.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no, Lucha, if you get a chance, like T said, go Google it, watch it on YouTube. I think you can find most of the early episodes for free on YouTube.
Yeah.
It is a joy to watch, but be prepared to be shocked and awed by some of the brutality on what you see because it definitely did not pull its punches. I
No.
mean, we'll start talking about the roster here, and as my segue into it, as not pulling its punches. I mean, do you remember how season one ended with Big Rick?
Yeah.
Guy was wrestling all season, and then all of a sudden he was gone.
Yep. Just
And
disappeared. And he was
yep,
like a kind of like a henchman type guy on that during his time there. He was a giant. He was a
he was the main enforcer.
big dude. But he just kind of vanished. And I think he was one of the people probably had that contract dispute. They wouldn't, again, kind of make money. He might have, I think he was one of the first people to complain about the contracts
Yep,
because he wasn't able to do anything in the off season. So yeah, trust me, there's some characters on there if you've never even seen them. Like, all right, so WCW used to make some of the cheesiest characters you can come up with. I mean, some of the dumbest names, some of the dumbest looks, and obviously because they're second to WWF at the time. But Lucha, I mean, even though some of the characters, there were some characters that kind of cheesy. I mean, Sexy Stars look was weird and stuff like that. But you didn't think about it because they were good wrestlers and then the storylines they were putting in there.
yep.
So it didn't matter that they didn't look the part. What
It's
mattered was they were able to play the storyline. They were very good wrestlers.
I feel like it helps that like the lucha tradition is rooted in those over the top characters.
Yeah.
So it allowed them to get away with having your Dragos and your Aerostars and your
Hmm.
Marty the Moths, who
Hmm.
was his own separate story. But
Yep.
and then like any of those, not even like the masked luchadors, but even the unmasked people, like it was just you were able to pull those off because lucha, like I said, lucha history is those over the top ridiculous characters.
Hmm.
Like you have all the hee ho days of like they're all related to each other somehow.
Yeah, wrestlers like Aerostar. Who else did they
Yep.
have in there?
Ace.
Drago and El Dragon Azteca. I mean, when you see their mask, you're like, oh, okay, this is a little. But then you watch it, you're like, I don't even care about the mask. And for you guys who've never watched it, you guys would be shocked at how many people on the current, WWE, AEW. I mean, you can throw
Yep.
on Ring of Honor and TNA in there. How many wrestlers from Lucha Underground are all there? I mean, almost all their roster are part of like WWE, AEW right now.
That that's more or less why we are doing this episode too, is to talk about where all of these bigger named people are now that they're bigger named people. Like you're not
Mhm.
gonna some of them when we give their names, we'll give their Lucha Underground name first, and
Yeah.
then we'll talk about who they are now. Um, so we'll go down, we'll take a look, we'll go down their roster, we'll go alphabetically here. First person I want to mention is Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah.
He joined, I believe, very, very briefly. He was only on like the end of season one and the beginning of season two, if I remember correctly, right?
I You may be correct there. I can't confirm or deny.
Like he came in to do like I think it was he was supposed to have like a set of matches with Johnny Mundo at the
Johnny
time, and
Mundo.
we'll talk about who that is. Um, and then it just he all of a sudden just faded away. I believe Alberto Del Rio, his status is currently unknown because
Actually, he was there for a year.
was
Oh
he
no,
there
no,
for a
I take
year?
it back. No, no, no. He was there for 3 years. I don't remember him being there for 3 years. He might have been under contract,
Yeah,
but I don't think he was on there for all 3 years.
he must have just been under contract then because he
Hmm.
was not. He did not have that many matches.
No.
But current day Alberto Del Rio is kind of in flux as far as what he is doing. I believe
Hmm.
he is the current AAA champion, and with WWE purchasing AAA, not sure what the plan is there. I mean, what do you think, T? Do they keep him under contract?
Well, I don't think they. I don't think they really have. Okay, it would depend on the reaction of the crowd because everybody knows he's not the most popular guy in wrestling. He said a
Yeah,
lot of stuff off camera that he was very questionable. We won't go into the details about what was going
no,
on with him, but I think WWE leaves him there and just feel it out. If it gets to a point where people are kind of like turned off because he's on there and stuff like that, I can probably see WWE possibly making a move. But what do I know? They still got Hogan under contract still, so I WWE will ride it out until they can't ride it out no more. But I think he stays in AAA. He's never coming to the WWE roster. I can guarantee that. That's never going to happen.
I can agree with that. I think they keep him there. I think it hinges depending on what they're going to do as far as shows for them. If it's
Hmm.
going to be a televised product other than the Worlds Collide thing they do, or if it's just going to be something that they run down in Mexico and that area. Problem with Hogan, though, you mentioned, is Hogan is history. Del Rio really isn't. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, I know,
Like,
I agree. But I'm just saying, like the off-camera stuff, the
oh yeah,
personal life stuff you know, that
yeah, that
puts you in a bad
Terry did.
light, puts your company in a bad light. I mean, I he'll never touch the WWE roster. Let's put it that way. He's probably on thin ice. So
Yeah,
that if he does screw up again, he'll never set foot in another anything that has tagged with WWE.
like on his last warning, probably, right?
Oh, he already been past his last warning. This is just
Yeah.
by he just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Oh
WWE's
yeah.
they're probably waiting to pull the belt off of him to put it on somebody else anyway. And quite frankly, I don't know why Triple H even has the belt on him. The guy's old. I mean, he's a has been.
They some of the places in Mexico like him for some reason.
I mean,
Um,
well,
don't be surprised.
he's a name. I mean, if you wrestle in WWE and you're Mexican, you're gonna have
Yeah,
a name no matter where you go in Mexico. It doesn't matter.
honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they took the title off of him and put it on Vikingo.
Hmm.
That way, and they can showcase Vikingo like they did at Mania
Hmm.
as their title holder. Um, but moving on from Alberto Del Rio, we have Angelico. We'll just mention him really quickly. I believe he was awesome in Lucha Underground. The guy was just so incredibly athletic. He was weak on the promo game, but his in the ring work was incredible. Him
Hmm.
and Jack Evans working together. You know what, we'll pair both of them together because
Yeah.
they pretty much have stuck together for most of their careers.
Hmm.
They went to AEW for a little while, and both of them were cut from AEW. I believe they're part time with Ring of Honor
Yeah.
and TNA at the time.
Yeah.
Do you think we ever end up seeing much from them anymore, or are they pretty much just filler people?
I think they're filler people. I just don't. We were talking off camera. He had a lot of injuries, Angelico. I don't think he has to be on to be pushed because if you're going to take his skill as a wrestler, you would push him for that. The problem is that you need to have some sort of charisma, and he does. Neither one of them really bring that out. And I just think that I want to be honest. I think his outfit is still. I think they're still wearing the same getup they were wearing in Lucha Underground, aren't they?
Yeah, like the bright colors and all that.
Yeah, yeah. So they haven't really done any type of character change. So that would help them if they did like some sort of character change. Because him running around with the bucket hat is like he was doing it in Lucha. I'm like, dude, all right, let's move on. You got to change. You got to reinvent yourself in order to sell yourself. But hey, if he's happy with that look and he's going to ride it out, then more power to him. But yeah, he wasn't he didn't he have another name too? Wasn't he Serpentico?
No, he teamed with Serpentico.
We teamed with Serpentico. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
in AEW, he was teaming with Serpentico for a little while.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, if he changed his, I think if he changed his character and learned how to use a microphone a little better, he probably would have a much, he would have a bigger career, in wrestling. But but if you want to watch a good wrestler though, if you want a guy who can fly around the ring and do anything in the ring, he's your guy. He's another
Oh
one.
yeah.
He has some great matches in Lucha Underground too.
When he would throw himself off of things, it was just the height and the range he would get was absolutely
Mhm.
incredible.
Yeah,
But the dude had real bad, and it was not only was he injury prone, but the injuries that he would suffer were always on the particularly bad side.
yeah.
I remember him shattering his leg so bad that he was out for a significantly long time, and that just completely derails your career. But I
Hmm.
mean, at least it's good to see that he still is doing some work. Next up is AR Fox.
I do want to say this real quick though. I mean, there is a possibility that he could go to AAA
Yeah,
because he used to wrestle there.
yep,
So it's a
and I
possibility that if WWE wanted to bring him in and they want to fill out that roster of more lucha type wrestlers, I think if his contract's up or whatever the plan is at the AEW, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him go over there if his contract's up.
and I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yep.
Um, Next we have AR Fox, the frequent feuder with Killshot, which we'll get to later on and mention who that actually was. He is currently wrestling with AEW. Frequently seems to be used as a stepping stone for major feuds.
Yeah.
I know that he fought against the patriarchy at one point and along those lines. I don't think he'll ever be a top tier star, even though he's one of the most tenured people in wrestling. And
Hmm.
believe he runs a wrestling school too. But you think that's pretty much just all he'll do, right? Is just be that kind of floater.
Yeah, he doesn't have the physique. He doesn't have the look. In order to make it into the big leagues, you got to have either one of them, and he doesn't really have either one of them. And he was an okay wrestler. I mean, I don't know. I don't think he's somebody of note that we really
Yeah.
need to go in depth and discuss. I think maybe we should focus on the guys who are currently successful that used to be on Lucha Underground.
So would you say Brian Cage?
Absolutely. I mean, he's been everywhere. He was in
I'll let you.
WWE. He was
I'll
in
let you talk about Cage here first.
Yeah. I mean, he's of age now, but Brian Cage was just a phenomenal athlete in the ring. And for his stocky body and to be able to move like he did, it was great. Um, the thing with him was, personality. I think he had some issues in the locker rooms. Also, like I said, I just don't. He has the physique. He has the Vince McMahon look. He just doesn't have the charisma to go with it.
Is that why he never made it in WWE, you think?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think he had gotten. I think he there was something that happened in in WWE. I don't know if it was a backstage thing. There was something that happened. The reason why they had let him go. Because I want to say that they put him down to ECW for a second. Let me see.
No, he was with their career history. He was with Florida Championship Wrestling in 2008 to 2009, which was the precursor to um, NXT as we know it. And that was when he was playing like the Nightclaw character, like his
Yeah.
Wolverine themed character.
Why don't
Um,
they? Why don't they
but
have him
he's
listed in WWE on this roster? He was in
it's because
WWE.
it's with FCW. WWE was FC
Oh,
was
okay, got you.
um, but like he's been around. He was with Pro Wrestling Noah. He's been with Pro Wrestling Gorilla. So he's been in
Hmm.
Japan. He was with Lucha Underground. Then he went to AAA. Then he went into the bigger leagues, if you could call it, with TNA, where he was
Hmm.
involved in some pretty big storylines in TNA, and then came to Ring of Honor and AEW, which are basically the same company. And he's been part of the, or he was part of Swerve Strickland's group, I believe, first, and then now he is with the Don Callis family,
Yeah, it's with the Don
teaming,
Callis family.
teaming with Lance Archer, correct?
Yeah.
Um, the problem with the problem I have with Brian Cage is yes, he's athletic. Yes, he's got a look, but he's never really had a great personality.
Mm.
Um, and now that he is getting on the older side, he you can tell that he can't quite keep up with some of these younger guys in the ring.
Yep.
And it's coming back to make him not look as good.
Well, when you're carrying the amount of muscle mass that he carries, over time, I mean, things slow down. So, I mean, he was great in TNA. I had fun watching him there. But the only problem with him was, again, he doesn't have a microphone charisma. I think didn't he get a belt and didn't he win one in Lucha Underground? He won a belt, I thought.
He was
Oh
part of,
yeah,
I think he had been in
he was
trios.
the Dodge champion and then in Lucha Underground. So he was
Was
one of
he?
the people that won it.
Yeah, the gift of the gods. I
Yeah.
thought he had been a trios champion too, but maybe apparently not.
No,
Um,
no, you might
he
have
did
mixed
win
him
the
up with Angelico.
he did win the TNA Impact World Championship
Yeah, he
though.
did. I've seen that. And he won the X Division championship when they were TNA was trying to get. They were trying to get out of having smaller wrestlers in the X Division. He wanted to start to be more inclusive of bigger wrestlers. That threw that division right out the window as soon as they started doing that. Because
Well, now Now you have Moose as your X Division champion, and it, like you said, what's the point of it being the X Division when you have these big ass guys as champ?
Yeah, I don't get it. TNA threw away something that was actually putting, having people watch them, was the X Division matches. And
Right,
they just kind of threw it away.
a division for your AJ Styles and your Austin Aries and that, and like it was
Davari,
fantastic. What was that?
Davari.
Yeah, who we'll mention here shortly for a moment.
Yeah.
Um, our next person, just real quick, I just want to mention in passing because I find it entertaining, is Chavo Guerrero.
Yes.
I believe he still shows up occasionally all over the place. He was on AEW. He's been making appearances everywhere and keeping the Guerrero name alive. And I
Yeah.
like to. I mean, he was never a great wrestler or character, except for his Kerwin White character. That one was fantastic. But I'm glad to see him still keeping the Guerreros on the map.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird too, 'cause there's not too many Guerreros out there right now, is it?
No, because Shaw doesn't wrestle anymore. I don't
No.
think.
No. No.
Eddie's daughter. I mean, Dominic is still wrestling, so
Yeah, outside of him, but I mean,
Eddie's real son.
Eddie's real son.
Um, but yeah, no, I think you're right. Actually, let me see who. Let's see if he has any other family that's still out there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Chavo was, he was your average lucha wrestler is what he was. And I mean, he didn't do nothing spectacular in the ring. I mean, but he was a good worker.
His
So
personality was real good too.
yeah, I mean, but that's the point. I mean, he was a good worker. I mean, there was he didn't really ever have issues anywhere you go. I just think he's just one of those guys. It's very difficult to push to stardom, outside of just his last name. He didn't really do anything in the ring or anything on the microphone that kind of got you. Ooh, I gotta watch him. But uh,
Which wasn't that why he got brought into WWE in the first place? Was because of his last name? Did
absolutely,
Vicky brought him in, right?
yep, absolutely. The reason why he got in was because of the last name. But again, he was a good wrestler. I mean, he wasn't bad. I mean, he typical matches. He was a standard lucha wrestler. He didn't do all the over the top stuff, just the normal stuff you would see lucha wrestlers do.
Yep.
Moonsaults, always jumping off the top ropes, um, some technical stuff. I mean, but there was nothing that you were just in awe of. But I mean, but he was a worker. I mean, he was somebody you could use to help put other people over.
He was a wish Eddie,
Yeah,
to put it bluntly. Like he was if you ordered Eddie Guerrero and you got Chavo instead.
yeah,
Nothing, not to knock him though. Like I said, the fact that he's still active and still doing things tells is to his credit. You can tell that he's still brings it.
yeah,
Um, but and then another quick mention for our next guy in Daivari. Went from wrestling. I think he's a producer for WWE now, correct?
yes.
We
Oh no,
frequently
no,
see.
isn't he still? I thought he was in. Let me make sure before I say anything
Let's
wrong on
see.
here. I thought he
Or did
was in
he was AEW?
AEW. Oh yeah, he's still working backstage at WWE.
Yeah, we see him. If you watch he works on Friday Night SmackDown.
Yep,
Whenever they have he ate an RKO from Randy Orton this past weekend.
that's right. He was one of the guys that got in the ring. All right, so Davari is still there. I
Um,
remember him in TNA in the X division. He was one of the. I mean, Davari was a good wrestler.
yes,
I mean, he was a smaller guy, but he was a great wrestler. And that X division really got. And that's why, for those of you people that don't know or aren't fully up on the history and of the organizations, TNA had started at X division, which was what WWE stole to do the lightweight division. So they
yep.
were biting off of TNA because it became so popular.
Actually, technically, TNA would have ripped off the light heavyweight from WCW because they were the first ones to
Oh,
do it
true. Yeah, I forgot about that. They did do it in the
with
latter part.
Rey Mysterio and all that.
Yeah,
Um, but it's he's a good person to have, I think, as a producer.
yeah.
Brings a lot of knowledge of the business to all these young guys.
Hmm.
So I'm glad to see that WWE brought him back to do that.
And
Next up,
he was fun to watch.
oh yeah, he played a good heel character.
Always. I mean, I can't even count how many times he ever played a face.
I don't think he ever did.
I think he played a face for a little while. I think he was like, I forget he was helping somebody out, like in TNA for a
But
little
I
bit.
mean, like with his WWE tenure, we all know Vince McMahon and his casual racism. So
Yeah.
obviously Daivari was going to be a heel. Um, but our our next one we can actually talk about a little bit longer. Most people aren't going to recognize him by the name that we give here,
Yeah.
and we'll go off that. He wrestled in Lucha Underground as Dez, and I will let you tell everyone who he is now.
Des Lee is currently Wesley on NXT. Another former Lucha Underground guy. If you see how he moves around the ring, that's how all their matches were, and that's how all the wrestlers wrestled. So there was no. It was how does how does how does Jacob say? All gas, no brakes.
All brakes, no gas.
All brake. No, they were. It was just high octane, and he was one of the guys there. I mean, I forgot that he was even there. To be perfectly
So did
honest,
I.
he looks so much different now. But yeah, he used to wrestle there. He was a Lucha Underground guy. He was a very young guy at that time. I think he's what is he 36? Yeah, he was born in 88, so he's 36 now. So he's another guy. I'm interested in what NXT plans on doing with him. But he had some pretty crazy matches over in Lucha Underground. So he's definitely somebody you probably want to check out some of the highlights he had on YouTube.
So even with what he does nowadays, so he went from Lucha Underground to the Indies, then he went to TNA,
Yep.
where he formed the Rascals with Trey Miguel and
Yep.
Zachary Wentz,
Yep.
who were a fantastic group. And WWE poached him and Zach Wentz
Yeah.
to um, join NXT as MSK. They came in as a
Mhm.
tag team, and WWE was pushing them pretty hard until Zach Wentz got basically uh, black black blacklisted because of allegations from his ex-girlfriend that turned out to be false, thankfully.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and one big thing to note of Wesley is he did have that particularly bad injury scare where he came out. Do you remember that? Where he came out to the ring in NXT and said basically talked about how he couldn't feel his legs.
Yeah. Because
He had to go
he
in.
had disappeared off TV for a while.
Yeah, he had to go in for like a crazy spinal surgery.
Mhm.
And thank God he was able to come back from that. Came back. He was a fantastic North American champ down there before he had to go out, and came back, became a heel. The work that he's been doing, he turned heel with WWE's crossover with TNA, by
Mhm.
turning on his former friends of the Rascals,
Mhm.
um, and has been absolutely killing it as a heel in NXT.
Well, I mean, that's how you get longevity, isn't it? I mean, I'm just wondering. I found it interesting the way they were pushing them in NXT that they would have pushed him up to the main roster, even just him. But
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I'm hoping that something. I hope that they can do something with him.
he's one of those guys that I would love to see brought up to the main roster and just absolutely kill it.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
I hope they got something in plans for him.
yeah, I mean currently he's got a little faction going on down there, so I'm not 100% sure where they're going to go with that, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. Um, we'll move on to our first female wrestler on the list here, who is currently a huge star with WWE, one Io Shirai,
Yes.
otherwise known as Ms. Io Sky, your WWE Women's World Heavyweight Champion. I
Yeah. I mean,
quite the leap for her.
she had a different name there too.
I
Io
believe she was
Shirai.
actually going by Io Shirai there.
Yep. Yep. And if you ever, it's funny seeing her picture because she looks like she's like 13 in the picture.
She does.
But she yeah, that's where she this which I think that's really she was I think she got introduced to the main wrestling brands from Lucha. Yeah, she did time in AAA and in Japan, but Lucha I think is where she had kind of took off and started making a name for herself.
Yep. She was she was with she actually wrestled with AAA too, funnily enough. But
Yeah.
she was with mostly Japanese wrestling promotions. She did Lucha Underground as I believe wasn't she part of the Black Lotus Society?
Yes.
Then she went back to Stardom, went to the Indies, and then WWE brought her into NXT. And as we see now, she's our our WWE Women's Champion, and you can't really get any higher than that.
No, and the thing is, I mean, she is. Let me see what she got else in Lucha. I could have swore she won a tag belt there, didn't she?
Let's see, I'm looking it up right now. No.
I thought she was like was part of the trios belts or something like that. No, maybe not.
No, she was one of those people though. She was part of the Black Lotus Triad who had that they had that feud with Penta.
Yeah, they were going after him.
Yeah, and they kept beating the hell out of Penta. They had that real crazy like gauntlet match against him, and where their team ended up actually beating Penta.
Here, let me do 1 second. I'm gonna have a little technical. I'm gonna just fix my camera real quick. Just go ahead and talk about the next one. I'll be right back.
Okay. 1 sec. I'll pull up our next one. Our next one after EO is Jake Strong in Lucha Underground. Currently, he's gone through many names. I actually believe he was with WWE before he even went to Lucha Underground. He was a real American, if you will, and you all may know him by his Americanized name of Jack Swagger or Jake Hager nowadays. Let me know when you're back, T. Yeah, he started with he was with WWE SmackDown and Raw. He was a world champion with WWE before he even went to Lucha Underground. Went to Lucha Underground and stayed with them through their final season. I believe you and I were talking about it, T. He was their final champion in season 4 there, and went from there to AEW.
Yeah, he was something else. I'll be honest with you. One of my all-time favorites in Lucha. I thought that it's funny enough. I thought for sure that he was gonna like really blow up in wrestling, but it just never materialized.
His his problem in WWE is he doesn't have he really doesn't have a personality. He's kind of wooden when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like he looks like your like stereotypical um like farm boy out of Kansas,
Mm-hmm.
and he also like he has that same kind of personality going on, which is why I feel like he always did better when he was paired with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like when who was it when he was paired with Cesaro? Who was their mouthpiece?
Oh man, who
The
was it?
little old guy with the mustache. His real name is Dutch Mantel.
Yeah, the heck was his name? Yeah, I have to use this other camera. Getting some sort of interference.
Am I coming through all right for you?
Yeah, you're fine. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm getting some sort of lag or something like that.
Yeah, it's lagging a little bit on your end,
Yeah.
but it's fine. We'll
So
make it work.
I'm gonna turn the camera off. I'll just talk without the camera for now.
Okay. So yeah. So your any more thoughts on Hager and where he's now with AEW?
Well, I mean, he was pushed by I mean, he got a big push from WWE. I mean, they were throwing him all over the place when he was there.
There's a Money in the
Um,
Bank winner.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they were trying to really like label him as like a top wrestler. But I thought that he was brought in to Lucha in that last season, and I believe correct if I'm correct, he literally ended the 4th season with him as champion
I
and never
believe so.
came back to it. So that's one thing you can hang his hat on. He was the last champion of Lucha Underground. But even there, he was just the same guy, the powerhouse wrestler guy in the ring. Problem again with him there again was, first of all, it was ending. The Lucha Underground was ending, but he just not he doesn't have the charisma. He has the size and the wrestling ability, but again, he was another one just doesn't have the charisma. He had just a short stint on there. It wasn't the longest thing on there, but he did spend some time in Lucha.
He's always good as like an enforcer type background character, I think.
Mhm. Yep.
And I think that'll be perpetually like his role, like he was behind Jericho in AEW there.
Yeah.
I don't think we haven't seen him since that, have we?
No, no, because he was the he was the who was it? Him and who was the guy they kept going have him go up against in AEW when they had it was Jericho's crew, right?
Yeah,
Who were they? I can't remember.
he faced
AEW.
Wardlow a couple times.
Yeah, maybe it was Wardlow that we kept going up against. Remember they kept trying to pin them up against each other.
Yep.
Week after week, you were just waiting for them two to get in the ring together. Then they had that lousy match. They were
Yeah.
the shows, and I was just like, okay, we don't need to see this again. But yeah, he was yeah, I mean, quite frankly, he was a talent over there. He just wasn't an impact guy over there because he came so late, and he was one of the guys they were trying to fill out the rest of the roster because they had lost so many wrestlers in that fourth season.
Yeah, it was exactly. He came in as one of those people who just like all the young wave that they brought in because they had lost all of their big name people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Next one is going to be an interesting one for you. It is Matanza Cueto, who
Yeah.
is currently actually we'll talk about him in AEW first. He was billed as the brother of the owner and producer Dario Cueto, and
Mm-hmm.
but he was billed as some sort of like monster who
Mm-hmm.
basically would murder and eat people. Had a bunch of real fun feuds. Had a real fun match with Rey Mysterio and Ricochet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll let you talk about where he's at is now and who he is.
Right now, I'm having a little difficulty again. I think my internet's getting wacky.
You sound fine.
I do sound fine. No, keep talking about him. Let me just get this
Okay,
reset.
so Matanza Cueto is WWE's newest hot acquisition, Jeff Cobb. They brought him in from New Japan. His contract ended there. He had been doing some fill-in work at AEW as like a free agent. He made a few appearances there. I believe he wrestled at their Forbidden Door pay-per-view with his partner Great O'Connor, whoever it was he was with.
Yep.
Um, but I'm really looking forward to him in WWE.
Yeah, I'm interested in what their plan is with him. I don't know exactly what they're going to do. It's just kind of weird they toss him into the bloodline like that. But there, getting back to we go on a tangent sometimes going about WWE. Um, there he was a pillar. He was like kind of like the I don't know how would you name it. I mean, like the Mike
He was
Myers.
Kane.
He was like, yeah, I mean, but he would they were literally off characters like in a soap opera on there.
Yep.
So he was the guy they would send in. He'd show up like, at some odd time out of the shadow, and then that wrestler will disappear off the show. So
Yep.
they did that with a lot of wrestlers on there. But he was the key guy there that would take everybody out. But I mean, his look there, man. If you guys ever get a chance, take a see what his look looked like in Lucha Underground to what he looks like today. Two different things. I mean,
Oh yeah.
he had a real good, creepy look. He would have fitted in perfect with Bray Wyatt if he was still around. His character
Yeah,
would fit perfect with them.
he really would have. I'm looking it up right now. What was his finisher called?
Oh,
The Wrath of the Gods.
yes, yes, the Wrath of the
If
Gods.
if you want to see a cool finishing move,
Yeah,
check out his Wrath of the Gods move, and it's fun.
it's a really good move, and he can moonsault. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, he's very similar to Jacob Fatu.
Just a little bit shorter, I think.
Yeah, shorter. I mean, he has the wide shoulders like Fatu and everything, but he's a shorter guy. But he's basically if you like Jacob Fatu, you'll like him. They're very similar wrestlers, which is kind
Yep.
of what I think that storyline means for him is like, yo, here, we're replacing you, going further with Jeff with Cobb. But yeah, he was fantastic over there. His character over there, his character model over there was so much fun. and you just couldn't wait. And he would just pop up at odd times, like at a point where you didn't even expect him to show up to kill somebody.
Yep, and then he would kill someone.
Killing somebody, they would just show him showing up there. You just knew what happened.
Exactly. The next person I just want to mention, and I'm sure you'll just agree with what I say here about this person, is somebody who I'm hoping we never, ever, ever see in a wrestling ring again, is Joey Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even really even need to name him.
No, I just wanted to say that he's somebody who was there who it was just gross. Next up, Johnny Mundo has gone by many names. Most of the time, his last name matches whatever company he works for, except for WWE. He didn't use Johnny WWE. He is currently, I believe, Johnny. What's he going by now?
Right
Johnny
now
TV.
By Johnny TV.
He's married to one Taya, and he's on AEW right now. That is one John Morrison.
Yes.
He is an incredibly talented, athletic wrestler. Can definitely see the age is finally starting to catch up to him. But gotta say, the dude is fun pretty much wherever he goes.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, even right. How old is he now? What is he?
Let's
See.
45.
He's pushing it.
His
right now, I mean, you could be saying, I mean, he still can move around the ring fairly well. I mean, he's not as fast as he used to be. But he was a pivotal point of Lucha Underground. He was always involved in the championship matches. Him and his little crew. What was the name of their crew again?
They were, I'm looking it up right now.
What were their names?
They were Worldwide Underground.
Yes, Worldwide Underground. Yeah, that was their names.
It was him, Jack Evans, Taya, and PJ Black.
Yeah, and he was just pretty much like almost like the leader of their group.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, what you see with Morrison today, I mean, the same thing you had saw with him there. I mean, he was just. Then he had an Iron Man match, I think, there one time, didn't he?
He had that match with Puma, and they had the all night long match.
Yep. The hour-long match where they wrestled forever. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's probably going to be one of the few times, if you ever get a chance to watch it, folks, that match was a blast. I mean, for two guys to wrestle for an hour and it stayed entertaining for an hour, you guys wouldn't believe what the match that those guys put on.
Their styles meshed so well. And especially when we talk about who Prince Puma is, you'll be able to understand why they went as long as they didn't look as good as they did. But Johnny Mundo he won three titles in Lucha Underground. He was their champion, he was their Gift of the Gods champion, and he won a trios belt. He, like I said, he was always involved in huge storylines, and his finisher that he still uses to this day is probably one of the coolest things to see done. The Starship Pain.
Yep. And I believe he was a champion there. I believe he was a Triple Crown champion in Lucha Underground too. So he was actually a staple of Lucha Underground. He was actually more of a staple there than I think he's been anywhere, quite frankly.
Yes. That's pretty. I mean, you could say. I mean, he did decent work in WWE. We're teaming with Joey Mercury. And he teamed with The Miz for a while. But I think Lucha Underground was probably his biggest impact.
Yeah, I definitely recommend if anybody take the opportunity, if you're going to watch any match from Lucha Underground, probably check that one out. It'll entertain you from the beginning of the match to the end of the match.
Next up, we have a woman we could talk about for a moment. Went by Kairi Hojo in Lucha Underground. She was a member of the Black Lotus Triad with Io, and she currently wrestles with WWE when she's not injured as part of Damage Control. Of course, who knows what Damage Control is even going to be with Dakota Kai gone.
Yeah, we don't know what the angle is with that, but yeah, Kairi Sane was there. She was part of the Black Lotus group, and she had somewhat of a. I mean, she wasn't. I wouldn't per se she was a staple there, but she was part of some pivotal storylines there, especially going after Penta. And Lucha Underground. So, and that's what we were talking about with the intergender matches that they would wrestle. Literally wrestle women in the ring, and the women actually held their own there.
There's actually coming up, there's going to be a woman we talk about who had a ridiculous match with Penta. We'll make sure to bring that up when we get there. But
Yeah.
I think the coolest thing about Lucha Underground was how they showcased all these people from different parts of the world and brought
Hmm.
them in. It wasn't just straight up luchadors.
Right. Right. But it was a great blend of wrestling. I mean, I mean, you had powerhouses, you had the standard lucha wrestling, you had the Johnny Mundos who were doing just high flyers. I mean, they had a mix of everything. And honestly, that's honestly, I think that was the only place that really gave Kyrie Sane a shot. I mean, as far as America side,
Yeah,
because I mean, WWE kind of, I think, just kind of, you know, I think they kind of
they
lost it.
sort of dropped the ball with her.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. Like, I mean, I guess there was some talk about her size. She is a smaller wrestler, especially for the women's division. So it's a little tougher to pull off a lot of the, grappling moves, slamming and suplexing and stuff. She was just a high flyer. I think, I mean, honestly, for American wrestling, she was fantastic there because she was just kind of like another character, part of that trios group,
Yep.
and she didn't have to stand out there.
Um, yep. So I mean, she still is currently wrestling. She's injured, I believe, though,
Yeah,
with
she has a knee
WWE.
injury right now. Yeah.
Um, so we'll move on to our next person, who's probably one of the biggest names to come out of Lucha Underground. Wore a mask while he was there. Went from Lucha Underground, ended up going to WWE. He is one kill shot, and I'll let you take this one, T.
Yeah, I mean, in case you guys didn't know who Killshot was, he was Swerve, or he is Swerve Strickland. He actually, to be honest with you, if you guys didn't realize that, I mean, he was technically a lucha wrestler. I mean,
Yep.
he wrestled in Mexico, and that's where he got his chops from. And I mean, listen, that dude used to put on some matches over there. Killshot used to put on some matches. That's season 3 with
Yep.
Killshot was just ridiculous. I mean, I don't think I seen him. I mean, didn't he did a flip outside the ring into the crowd on somebody. Like in Lucha Underground, if you had to watch it, they would fight in the crowd. He literally jumped. I think he jumped out of the ring and into the crowd on top of everybody. It was pretty sweet. But
It was
he was great
probably
over there.
Dante Fox.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing that's kind of sucked, I kind of wish he would still be Killshot because he was great. It was a great character over in Lucha Underground. But I mean, like I said, he built up popularity with being Swerve now. But if you guys want to see some early matches with Swerve with him, check out Lucha Underground with the Killshot matches.
The biggest thing I remember from him was when he was having that huge feud with AR Fox, and
Yep.
they had the equivalent of a hardcore match,
Mm-hmm.
and they had the pane of glass set up between the two ladders, and
Yep. Yep.
he hit like a type of driver on AR Fox through the
Through
plate
the glass.
glass,
Yep.
and it was just watching that. It was kind of, and pardon my French here, but it was a holy shit moment. Like
Yeah.
the crowd,
It was
yeah,
scary. I mean, because it looked really dangerous. That
yeah.
glass looked like it didn't have a whole lot of give. I mean, yeah. Listen, guys, watch the kill shot matches. Watch him against AR Fox, and yeah, trust me, you guys won't be disappointed.
I mean, you think the stuff he does now as Swerve is crazy, like that series he had with Hangman Page. The,
Oh, he's tame now.
yeah, the Lucha Underground stuff is way crazier.
Yep. Yeah, he's much more tamer now in WWE.
All right, keeping us moving here. We had a man known as the Hunter, King Cuerno in Lucha Underground. He would come in and he was, I believe he may have been your first Gift of the Gods champion. If you look at his
Uh,
picture, you can tell who he is by his hair in WWE. He is the leader of Legado del Fantasma, Santos Escobar.
yes, he is, and another fine uh lucha wrestler. I mean, to me, he's one of the best in the world right now. I mean, he's 41 now, so I mean, he's probably got another 3-4 years in him right now to be at a top level, in terms of lucha wrestling. But I mean, he was a pivotal character in Lucha Underground. And for those of you that didn't know, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. If you could see his mask back then, like if you seen him then, you wouldn't think that was him today. Because there he looked much bigger. I don't know why in Lucha he looked in Underground he looked bigger than what he looks now. Could be because of the wrestlers in WWE or giants that are walking all over
I
the
think
place.
so.
Yeah, but there, man, he looked much bigger. But he was, oh man, he had some good matches. He was another pivotal character. He was one of the staples of Lucha Underground. I think he let me see, I think he was there from he was at Lucha from 24 to the beginning to the end.
Yep, he was
Yep.
there the whole time, and his finisher that he used in Lucha Underground, like he uses the Phantom Driver now, but he
Mm-hmm.
used I believe it was called the Thrill of the Hunt when he was in Lucha Underground. It was like a spinning like pile driver thing that he did.
Yep.
Absolutely beautiful to watch. Same with his dive that he did, the arrow sent from the gods or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
He would get such a running start and throw himself out of the ring. It was amazing he didn't kill himself. And he played his character was super fun. He wasn't super talkative, but the way he told a story in the ring as like a hunter of other luchadors was
Mm-hmm.
real fun to watch. And I'm glad that that WWE is actually utilizing him in storylines, even though it's only against other luchadors at the moment. But
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy the work that he's doing in WWE.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm hoping that they can start like really doing something with him because he's a hell of a talent. Um, a great wrestler. He's great with the microphone. He sells. I mean, he sells on the microphone. So I mean, he's like I said, if you can guys watch him there, that was his whole thing. He was kind of like the Craven in
Yep,
Marvel comic books. He was just hunting luchadors, and that's all he would do.
yep. And that was that perfect comparison. I didn't even think of that as Craven.
I think
Um,
that's pretty much what his character was.
yep. For our next one, I'm going to combine these two because you are a huge fan of both of them. They wrestle both as a tag team and as solo. Right now, they're on one is on Raw, one is on SmackDown. We have Pentagon Dark and we
Mhm.
have Ray Phoenix.
Yes, we do. Um, I'll be honest with you, man. They tell you right. If you can watch Ray Phoenix there, I mean, the stuff you see from Ray now, if you're new to him, is I mean, it's tame to what he used to do in Lucha Underground. Him and Penta. I mean, Ray. It almost looked like when he was in Lucha Underground, it looked like the dude was walking on air whenever he was in a match.
Yep,
And I believe he had a match against Killshot too. I believe he had a match against Killshot that was just unbelievable, unbelievable. So again, we're mentioning some of these guys. If you, I know this, I know it's old. I mean, we're talking like 2014, 2018 is when Lucha Underground was under there. Those matches still hold up. So if you want to get a real feel for who Ray Phoenix is and who Penta is, watch any of their matches in Lucha Underground on YouTube. You'd be shocked at how entertaining and fun those matches were, and the craziness that you see today in WWE, which kind of tames everybody down, and how athletic they really are when you allow them just let go on the ring. But Phoenix was my guy too. I mean, he was. I think he went to a little bit of a. I think he didn't. Wasn't he heel for a little while over there?
he was Dark Phoenix, so he sort of like walked the line. He
Yeah,
had
he was
that
like an
he had
anti-hero.
he had that grave consequences match with
Yeah.
Bill Muertes where he got basically murdered, and
Yep.
Katrina Muertes' manager, who was like the witch woman, ended up
Yeah.
resurrecting him as Dark Phoenix.
Yeah. I mean, he's had. I mean, I think he's held all the belts there.
Yes,
He was the champion. He had gift of the. Wait a minute. Did he win the gift of the gods twice? Let me see.
I think so.
I think he won it twice. Yep. Wait, hang on. Yeah, two gifts of the gods championships, and the trios championship. So he was kind of like a. I mean, he held all the belts that they had there.
He won an Aztec warfare too, didn't he?
Uh,
Which, if
uh,
we didn't mention it, basically Aztec warfare was a Royal Rumble,
yeah.
but you could pin people instead of just throwing them out of the ring.
Yeah.
Those were always fun.
Yeah. They put a nice twist on the stuff that we currently see today. But I'm trying to say, yeah, I don't have him winning that.
And if you want to see anything about Penta and Phoenix, yes, you can go back and watch what they did in AEW, but what they did in AEW doesn't even compare to what they did in Lucha Underground. Um, Pentagon was so incredibly vicious. We mentioned that match between him and Vampiro. Like they
Mhm.
went into that match like Pentagon was talking about his master, all this, all that. Turned out that it was Vampiro, and that's what led to the match between them.
Yeah.
And it was probably one of the most vicious, violent matches I've ever seen outside of ECW.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot because ECW was pretty brutal. I'm sure we could do a show about that at some point. But he was breaking people's arms, kayfabe, of course. He was just destroying intergender wrestling, murdering the Black Lotus Triad. Like he was just, and then Phoenix, like T said, you watch Phoenix, it's like his feet never touched the ground. There was
No.
a match, I believe, between him and Ed Helico that was just beyond incredible.
And on top of that, I mean, I don't has he done it yet? I don't recall if he done it yet. He had a move, if I remember correctly, he had a move where he would do like a spin in the air, and it's like a corkscrew or like a somersault, like a senton. He would do off the top ropes. Do you remember him doing that?
I do.
I mean, it was just effortlessly, but it's a very dangerous, dangerous move if you weren't the spring of foot, as they say. You probably couldn't pull that move off, and he could pull it off, and he used to do it like it was nothing. He would just run to the top ropes and pull it off. So if you guys ever get a chance, check out his it's a I don't even know if he has a name. Did he even have let me see. Did there a name for this movie yet? Let me see.
so also speaking of moves, tell me why WWE is calling his move the Mexican Muscle Buster
That's
and
what they're
not calling it what its actual name is, which is even more badass, which is the
Mission
Black Fire
Driver.
Driver.
Yeah,
No, the
Mission
Black
Driver
Fire Driver.
2.
It starts as a Muscle Buster turned into the Michinoku Driver, but
Yeah.
the actual name of the move is the Black Fire Driver.
Oh, that's the name of it.
And they need to stop calling it the Mexican Muscle Buster and actually call it the correct thing.
Well, I'm wondering if that is a contract thing. Kind of like how you have your name.
Maybe.
I mean, you can't name your move the same thing. But yeah, I mean he had some crazy stuff in the ring, and I recommend if you guys ever get an opportunity, watch just to watch them two, their matches in Lucha Underground and their storylines over there. I believe you can go through YouTube and there's like people who have chopped up you know different matches with them and showing their journey through Lucha Underground. Dude, I'm telling you, it's unbelievable.
So we have like 6 or 7 people left, a couple that we can go through quickly.
Mhm.
There, the next one is actually my pick as a potential Money at the Bank briefcase winner for the women's side this year in WWE. She went by Reclusa in Lucha Underground. She's
Mhm.
currently married to one Matt Cardona. I know she's one of your favorite people, T, in Chelsea Green.
Chelsea Green, yes, she was there. And Lucha Underground. It's kind of like wherever I think that's where she kind of made a name for herself was in Lucha.
Yep, it's where
Um,
she started.
she was wrestling dudes over there, just like all the other ladies were. And like I said, I wouldn't mind seeing if she can even. I mean, again, I wish WWE would kind of break that wall
So
down once in a while. But she can wrestle with dudes, and she's very tame in WWE compared to what she used to do in Lucha. Like if you've
yep,
seen her wrestle in Lucha Underground, you wouldn't thought it was the same person.
I can tell you that she can definitely wrestle dudes, and she's still willing to because one of the greatest matches she was ever in the history of her career was against Pentagon.
Yes. Yes,
And
it
you want to
was.
talk about someone that should have had the police called on them for beating a woman was probably Pentagon in that match.
Yeah, they fought in the ring, outside the ring. I mean, that match went all over the arena, and it was a intergender match. You would not even have thought twice that it was a woman wrestling.
Nope, it was a hell of a match.
Yes, and that's another one, another Penta match you should watch versus Green. You guys would enjoy that one thoroughly, just because you don't see it a lot today. So that alone will make you, it'll entertain you just to see that.
Yep. So yeah, she was your women's North American or women's US champion. Lost that recently to Zelina Vega, but I currently have her pegged as a potential Money at the Bank winner. I know both Mike and T laughed at me for my thoughts on Chelsea Green, but we'll see. We'll see how that plays out.
You know what
Um,
you know what, real quick. You know what she doesn't do anymore? She was at that running like stomp, that running curb stomp,
yeah,
and
she
Lucha
doesn't. I've
Underground,
noticed that.
and she doesn't do it anymore.
Maybe because Rollins uses the curb stomp.
Yeah, but it's not like hers was different the way he does his.
Yeah,
Start from the corner, like she would just sprint across the ring and stomp. And
yeah.
Rollins is more of a slow, wait, methodical, wait for you to get up type deal. You'd be on the ground, and all of a sudden, I know where she just do the stomp. She
I
was great.
wonder why they stopped it.
I don't know. Maybe because it's crossing with, uh, like you said, maybe because it's crossing with Rollins and it's a copy of his move. But I've seen people are copying, the 619 all over the place in WWE. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Speaking of copying the 619, our next person off the roster is possibly one of the greatest, most well-known luchadors in American history, besides El Grande Americano, of course.
Uh,
Um, Rey Mysterio Jr.
yeah.
What more can we say about him? He's
Yep.
probably the godfather of lucha libre in the United States.
Absolutely. And people forget that there was a stint where he disappeared from wrestling, like the major brands, and he went over here because I think there was, I think there was like, wasn't there like some sort of contract dispute as the reason why he went to Lucha Underground? There was a period of time where he wasn't wrestling on any of the major brands at the time, and he ended up having to go there for a reason. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was some reason why he was at Lucha Underground because WWE had he had I think WWE didn't renew his or he didn't want to renew his contract and he wanted to go to Mexico, I think, and wrestle there. And then he started doing more Mexican lucha
Yep.
wrestling, and then he came back to WWE later. So he spent a little time. Actually, you know what? I think he was in AAA, wasn't he?
He did. He went from WWE to AAA, then to
Yep.
Lucha Underground.
Yeah. So he spent some time in the lucha in between stints in WWE. Because don't forget now where he's at right now. This is his second stint in WWE. People don't realize that. Feels like he's been there forever, but this is
Yep.
his second role at it. I think didn't he come back in like 2017?
It was 2018 when he came back to WWE.
Okay, 2018 he came back, and that was right after I think when Lucha and everything started going under. He came back to the WWE. No, matter of fact, no, I think he left Lucha in. No, he only spent 2 seasons there, I believe.
Yeah. All right. I think he spent like 2.5 there.
Yeah, and then he just kind of disappeared off of there. So yeah, and I think that's when he started getting the calls from WWE and possibly going back there. And I think within that year, I think he went back to WWE shortly. I think he did a little stint somewhere else, just kind of showing up, and then he re-signed with WWE again for a long-term contract. But yeah, it was Ray. I mean, if you know Ray, you know Ray. I mean, he's part of Lucha Underground, another major name, if not probably the biggest name that Lucha Underground has ever had.
He won one title while he was there. He won the Trios Championship with Dragon Azteca Jr. and Prince Puma, who's going to be the next person we talk about. But he came in, I believe, as a mentor to those two.
Yep. Yes, he did. And I mean, I guess he left his imprint there because I think there was people like Ricochet had a shout out to him when I guess he was working with him a little bit there.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he taught a lot of the young guys they have there, how to handle the ropes and how to handle be a professional. That was one of the main reasons, not just his name there, but he helped along a lot of the younger guys that they had there. And I mean, if you want to go through some of the younger guys that were there, Ricochet, he assisted. And you know what? My buddy Sean here brought up a name that I didn't even realize even wrestled in Lucha Underground, and that was Sammy Guevara.
Yep.
I completely missed the fact that he was there, but he didn't really make a big imprint in Lucha Underground. But I didn't even realize he was there.
Yeah, the Spanish God came in season 4 during that wave of young stars. for that final season there. And like you said, I truthfully, until I saw his picture on the roster, I had completely forgotten too, because like we mentioned earlier in this episode, he season 4 was just kind of a little bit of a dumpster fire.
Yeah,
It didn't compare at all to the previous 3 seasons.
right.
But when you have a talent of Sammy Guevara's abilities, that's not a bad thing to have on your roster. The kid is even in AEW now, where he is, I believe, the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champ with Goldust. Um, he's incredible. The moves he does. I mean, yeah, he is not the safest worker, but
Hmm.
he is just he oozes charisma, and his move set is luchador plus.
Yeah, I mean, we know what Sammy is, currently today, but I mean, during the time when he was there, he wasn't he wasn't popular. He was kind of like another
Nope.
offshoot character who you probably wouldn't have recognized. Like I didn't even realize he was even there.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, he's another one that we can that you can chop up that passed through Lucha Underground is now currently right he's at the AEW right now.
Yep, he's been through several factions in AEW, and then, like I said, he's part of the Ring of Honor faction, the Sons of Texas, with the Von Erichs and Dustin Rhodes.
Yep.
Um, our next person is also currently in AEW. Spent a little bit of time with WWE, where they didn't quite give him the opportunities that he probably should have been given. That is one Prince Puma, who goes by the name of Ricochet.
Yeah, Ricochet was there for quite a while. I mean, he was a staple there from season 1 all the way to season 4. I think he was there in all 4 seasons. So that's pretty much where he got his name put out there. Was through a Lucha Underground, and people didn't realize when he got the WWE that that was actually him when he became Ricochet. Because in Lucha Underground, he had a mask on. He looked like
Yep.
a Puma mask. Um, it was a Lucha style Puma mask. But when he got to WWE, it was gone. And then I don't even think I even reckoned. I didn't even know. I think you had to tell me that was him.
I told you to look at his tattoo.
Yeah, the tattoos is what I mean. I kind of was trying like I know those tattoos when he got there,
Yep.
but you kind of put 2 and 2 together for me.
I can't tell you how excited I was when WWE had announced they had signed him to NXT, and it's real unfortunate that his career path didn't end better with WWE, because what he's doing as a character, I'm not a fan of what he's doing outside of wrestling and some of the interactions he's been having there, but the character that he's currently playing in AEW, his Andrew Tate type character,
Yeah.
is absolutely fantastic for him.
Well, he just need to find a niche somewhere, and I think he's found it. And he's found the confidence over there in AEW. They're kind of just letting him be who he is. I do wish that WWE kind of would have gave him more of a shot. But I mean, the Prince Puma thing was great. Actually, I kind of wish he would bring it back, if you ask me.
Yeah, like bring that back as a character at some point.
Yep.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah,
Um,
I wouldn't be mad at that at all. I mean, I could be. I mean, if you wanted to put him, I mean, if he was still there, he probably would have went to AAA. He probably would have sent him there. But
yeah.
well, let me just bring up one more for you here. Thunder Rosa was at Lucha Underground.
Yes, she was. She
Thunder Rosa was there.
was taking some time from AAA, I believe, to join the underground there.
Yep. Yeah, she. I mean, if you know Thunder Rosa, she's a pretty good wrestler. She's known throughout all of Mexico. She's like considered like I don't even know. Do they consider her like the greatest woman luchador of all time right now?
No, but one of the best.
Yeah, I thought they had like they gave her some sort of label or something like that. But she's one of the few lucha female wrestlers to make it big, and she's over in AEW. But she was there, but she had a full face paint there, wasn't in AEW. She didn't
Yeah.
wear the half a paint that she wears currently now, but she had full face paint. But yeah, I mean, she was another one. I don't recall. I want to say she did have a match with Penta too. Was it Penta or was it Ray Phoenix she had a crossing with?
Well, when she was with Lucha Underground, she didn't go by Thunder Rosa. She was went by Cobra Moon.
Why don't I remember that?
She was part of the Snake Tribe.
Oh, with
With
what's
Vibora.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, she was the leader of the snake tribe who frequently interacted with like Daga and them. She had her crossovers with, I believe, Prince Puma and all of them
Yeah,
because the snake tribe tried to interfere with all of them. Because that was another thing that Lucha Underground did was they didn't just have factions; they had like these tribes that were all animal themed.
yeah. That's
And
where what's his face over in AEW came from. Russellsaurus.
Luchasaurus. Well, he was actually
Luchasaurus.
the next person I was going to talk about. That's he went by Vibora in Lucha Underground. So yeah, both him and Thunder Rosa were part of the Serpent Tribe, um, which was incredible to see. Vibora, a man of, and it's even awesome to see what now when he was not injured in AEW, a man of his size doing the things that he does.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean to see him do it, he does a spinning back kick, he does like flips in the ring. I mean, he has a martial arts background from my understanding. But people forget like he Luchasaurus came from Lucha Underground, and that's where he kind of got his feet wet and got his name out there. And I mean, he had like a crazy like T Rex mask. I think he was wearing back then, wasn't it?
It was a crazy looking snake mask
Yeah, but it looked
because
like a
his
T-Rex, I think it was. I think because he had changed it. It went from like a snake mask, but then he switched it to like a dinosaur looking one before he went to this is before he went to AEW. He had a couple of masks that he wore in AEW, not just that one. But he had like a T-Rex looking one he used to wear.
because his nickname at one point was the Undersnaker.
but
Don't
yeah, he was
forget
great.
too
He was kind of like
that
he was kind of like their taker. Yeah, in other
yes,
words, he was a snake.
don't forget too that he was actually before he was with Lucha Underground, a member of WWE's roster with NXT.
Who was he in NXT?
He went by, I believe, the name of like Judas Devlin, something along those lines. He didn't. He was there for less, basically a year.
Oh,
Um, didn't get really a super opportunity. I believe he also has a doctorate in something. The dude, from what I understand, is a real smart guy.
oh, okay.
But leading from this to our last person, he was also part of a tribe. He was the White Rabbit of the Rabbit Tribe, one of my current favorite WWE wrestlers, Karrion Cross.
Yes, he was the White Rabbit. Yeah, he was kind of like
Oh,
yeah, he's supposed to be like this. He was like this insane character, kind of like. Actually, it's kind of weird because what he did with the White Rabbit is kind of what he's doing now, almost.
yeah,
Kind of like being this little guy in the background that's doing all kind of weird stuff behind the scenes and manipulating people and stuff like that. And if you've seen him then, I mean, he was like the NXT Karrion Cross. Uh, as far as his look, he didn't have the long hair and everything. But yeah, he was a good character over there.
I love Karrion Cross. I've loved him since before he came to WWE, when he was with Impact, when he was with Lucha. He's another guy who was with AAA.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, everybody gives him a hard time because he's not always the smoothest in the ring, but I think the fact that he is so good outside the ring makes up a little bit for his deficiencies in the ring.
yeah,
Um, his character that he's currently playing, this like puppet master,
yeah,
is incredible,
yep.
and I really, really hope that WWE does the smart thing here and finds a way to push him well.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the last few guys they had brought into Lucha before it ended in season 4. Um, he was another one they brought in to fill out that roster because of the talent they had lost. So I mean, again, that 4th season there, and apologize to anyone that watches that 4th season is a little all over the place compared to the previous 3 because they were introducing characters like him. These are characters they never kind of ever used before um, in Lucha Underground. So they were introducing these younger guys with these new type of characters. A lot of them didn't have mask on and stuff. So he was one of the few, the last group of guys that came in that final season. But he was great on there.
Yeah, he played that sort of like cult leader type character
Yeah,
with Paul London and the two little guys as part of his crew. and he played it real well. And I really loved the fact that WWE went out of their way to sign him.
Yeah, he was just kind of sit in the locker room, and people be walking in the locker room and just come up to him, or they're always scheming stuff. I think WWE may go with that. It's kind of like almost not as much. I mean, I think maybe they're just kind of scraping the surface on it of bringing that character, but with the Karrion Cross character.
Yeah, and they could probably use that and turn it into a real good storyline.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Um, but yeah, so this was our sort of retrospective talking about a wrestling show that's no longer around. Try to get you guys to go out and check it out and see how awesome it was. Both T and I can vouch for it. Did you have any other thoughts you wanted to talk about before we let this go to you?
No, just simple. Like we're gonna probably do a few of these every so often, where we kind of like do a little retrospect on some old stuff from wrestling. You know, for people that are fans of wrestling, and maybe some of the wrestling that maybe a little more obscure for today's fans that didn't know about some of these wrestlers or where they came from. So I'm pretty sure. I mean, we'll probably come across and do this a few other times, but um, my recommendation is you can watch all the way through season 1 to 4 right there on YouTube. Just take your time and watch them, man. It's a joy. The stories are a joy. You'll see wrestlers who we just told you are currently wrestling WWE. You can see how they used to look back then. So I recommend it, especially like if you guys watch it, feel free to write in the comments in the chat that anything that you've seen. Maybe there's something that we forget, we didn't mention. Whether you like Lucha Underground, what you didn't like about Lucha Underground, just feel free comment in it, and we'll entertain those and try to answer back everybody as much as possible.
For sure. Like T said, we're gonna every so often do some of these sort of retrospective type shows. You can just make sure to like, subscribe, comment, turn on your notifications. That way, when we do put out these special episodes, you make sure not to miss them. And then, as usual, we'll be bringing you the normal content. Monday Night Raw is tonight, so there will be a recap tomorrow. Then later this week, we'll be doing some of our NFL content. Believe we're going to try to get our famous TikToker Pulley B to join us for our NFL content again. So make sure to check that out. And as always, we thank everyone. And once we make sure you subscribe, because once we hit 100 subscribers, planning on doing a giveaway of some sort. Then again at 250 and 500. So help us keep growing our 716 Sports Entertainment family. And thanks everybody for watching with us.
And don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe. Please, we're trying to grow this channel.
Of course, thanks guys. Like T said, give us a like, give us a subscribe, hit that notification.